It's June 15th, 2026, and the deal is done. The uranium is moving, the mullahs blinked. And if you watched my last video, you know exactly how we got here. From the Apache shootdown over the Strait of Hormuz, to the B-2 strikes on Fordo, to Karg Island, going dark to Iran, sitting across the table from Qatari intermediaries, and agreeing to hand over enriched uranium that it spent 3 decades insisting it would never give up. That is the headline, and it is a genuinely historic one. But here's the thing about winning a war that nobody in the mainstream coverage is talking about this morning. Winning the fight is one chapter. Securing what you won is the next one. And right now, sitting at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, scattered across the approaches to the Strait of Hormuz, seeded along the shipping lanes that 20% of the world's oil needs to transit on its way to global markets, there are thousands of sea mines that Iran laid during this conflict. And those mines do not care that a deal has been signed. They do not care that the IRGC has agreed to stand down its Mosquito fleet. They do not care that the Qatari government is overseeing a uranium transfer framework. They are sitting there in the water right now, patient and indiscriminate, waiting for the hull of a ship to pass close enough to trigger them. And until those mines are found and neutralized, the victory that American military power just achieved in the Persian Gulf is incomplete, in a way that has real consequences for real people and for the global economy that depends on that waterway staying open. So today we are going to talk about the mine problem, what it actually looks like, what it takes to solve it, what platforms and capabilities the U.S. military and its coalition partners are bringing to bear on it, and why this phase of the operation is in some ways harder than everything that came before it. And then we will hit the global roundup because there are developments in the Pacific and in Eastern Europe that are moving fast right now. Let's get into it. First, let me give you the scale of the problem, because I think most people who are not steeped in naval operations do not have a clear picture of what a mined strait actually looks like from an operational standpoint, and why clearing it is such a significant undertaking. The Strait of Hormuz, at its narrowest point, is about 33 kilometers wide. But the navigable shipping channel, the water that is deep enough and safe enough for large commercial vessels, including the supertankers that carry crude oil, is significantly narrower than that. There are 2 shipping lanes, one inbound and one outbound, each about 3 kilometers wide, with a separation zone between them. That is the real estate that matters. That is the water that the global oil market depends on. And that is the water that Iran has been seeding with mines throughout this conflict, specifically targeting those shipping lanes, because Iran's strategic goal has been to make commercial shipping either impossible or so expensive and risky that it stops voluntarily without Iran having to physically stop every vessel individually. Iran has been using multiple types of mines in this campaign, and understanding the differences between them matters for understanding why the clearance operation is so complex. The most basic type is the moored contact mine, which is essentially a metal sphere filled with explosives that sits at a set depth below the surface, anchored to the seafloor by a cable. A ship hits it, and it detonates. These have been around since the American Civil War, and they are still dangerous because they are cheap, they are simple, and they work. Iran has significant stockpiles of these and has been deploying them throughout the conflict. The more sophisticated type is the influence mine, which does not require direct contact to detonate. It sits on the seafloor and uses sensors to detect the magnetic signature, the acoustic signature, or the pressure wave of a passing vessel, and it detonates when those signatures match a target profile programmed into it. These are significantly harder to find and to neutralize because they do not have to be near the surface, they can sit dormant for extended periods, and they can be programmed to ignore certain types of vessels while targeting others. Iran has Iranian-produced versions of influence mines, some of them derived from designs acquired decades ago and refined through their own defense industrial base, and those are the ones that are keeping mine clearance planners up at night right now. There are also reports of bottom mines that have been deployed in the deeper water approaches to the strait, which are particularly problematic because they sit flush with the seafloor and are extremely difficult to distinguish from natural bottom features using conventional sonar. And there is the additional complication that Iran released navigation warnings during the conflict that acknowledged the existence of a mined area but described it in deliberately vague geographic terms, which means the mine clearance forces do not have a precise chart of where the mines actually are. They have to find them the hard way. So what does the hard way look like? Let me walk you through the mine countermeasures operation because this is genuinely one of the most specialized and technically demanding forms of naval warfare that exists, and it deserves to be explained properly. The foundation of any mine clearance operation is finding the mines before they find you. That sounds obvious, but the detection problem is genuinely difficult. Mines are designed to be hard to see. They sit in murky water. They can be coated in materials that reduce their acoustic and magnetic signatures, and the Strait of Hormuz has a complicated seafloor environment with temperature layers and salinity variations that affect sonar performance in ways that make detection harder. The primary tools for finding mines are specialized sonar systems. both hull-mounted on dedicated mine countermeasures vessels and towed or deployed systems that can be operated at a standoff distance from the searching platform. The U.S. Navy's Avenger-class mine countermeasures ships are the workhorses of this kind of operation. These are relatively small vessels, about 68 meters long, built from fiberglass and wood, specifically to minimize their magnetic signature, so they do not trigger the influence mines they are hunting. They carry high-frequency sonar systems that can produce detailed images of the seafloor, and they carry the remotely operated vehicles and the trained divers that actually go in and neutralize the mines once they are found. But the Avenger-class ships are not the only tools in this operation, and in the current environment, they are probably not even the primary ones, because sending a surface vessel, even a specialized mine countermeasures vessel, into a strait that may still have active mines is exactly the kind of risk that the operation is trying to eliminate, not replicate. And this is where the unmanned systems that have been such a prominent part of this entire conflict come back into the picture in a new and critically important role. The Navy has been developing and deploying unmanned underwater vehicles specifically designed for mine countermeasures operations, and the Strait of Hormuz right now is the most consequential operational environment those systems have ever been used in. The Knifefish is an unmanned underwater vehicle specifically designed for mine hunting. It uses a low-frequency broadband sonar that is particularly effective at detecting buried and bottom mines, which are the hardest category to find with conventional systems. It operates autonomously, following pre-programmed search patterns, and it builds a comprehensive sonar picture of the seafloor that mine clearance teams can then analyze to identify potential mine contacts. Crucially, it does this without putting a human being in the water in an environment where mines are present. And then there are the expendable neutralization systems, small unmanned vehicles that can be guided to a mine contact and then detonated against it, destroying the mine without requiring a diver to swim up to it with a demolition charge. This is the modern version of mine clearance, and it is significantly safer and faster than the methods that were used in previous mine clearance operations like the one in the Persian Gulf after the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. Task Force 59, which made history earlier in this conflict with the first unmanned maritime drone rescue of downed aviators, is now apparently the organizational hub for coordinating the unmanned systems component of the mine clearance operation. And that makes perfect sense because TF-59 has been the Navy's center of gravity for unmanned and AI-enabled maritime operations throughout this conflict. And the mine clearance problem is exactly the kind of dangerous, time-consuming, precision-demanding task that unmanned systems were designed to take over from human operators. The integration of the Knifefish and other unmanned underwater vehicles with the surface mine countermeasures, vessels, and with the overhead surveillance provided by maritime patrol aircraft is creating a clearing operation that is proceeding faster than any previous operation of this scale in the Persian Gulf. But faster does not mean fast. And I want to be honest with you about the timeline here because I think there is a tendency in the immediate aftermath of a major diplomatic and military achievement to assume that the cleanup phase is going to be quick and straightforward. It is not. Clearing mines from the Strait of Hormuz is going to take months, possibly many months. The area that has to be cleared is large. The mine density in certain areas is significant. The environmental conditions make detection difficult, and the consequence of missing a mine is that a supertanker hits it, and the global oil market goes into shock at exactly the moment when everyone is trying to restore confidence in the strait as a safe transit corridor. So the clearance operation has to be thorough, even when thorough is slow. And that creates a real tension with the economic pressure that is building to reopen the strait to commercial traffic as quickly as possible. The coalition approach to managing that tension appears to involve a combination of surveyed safe corridors that are cleared to a sufficient standard for commercial traffic to use on a managed basis, while the broader clearance operation continues in parallel. Think of it as creating a cleared lane through the minefield rather than clearing the entire minefield before allowing any traffic. The surveyed safe corridors are established through intensive mine hunting operations in the highest priority shipping lane areas, verified through multiple passes with different sensor systems to build confidence that the corridor is clear, and then open for commercial traffic with naval escort vessels and continued monitoring. This approach allows oil to start flowing again before the entire mine clearance operation is complete, which is important both for the global economy and for the political sustainability of the agreement that just ended the conflict. Because an agreement that says the strait is open but does not actually produce oil tankers moving through the strait is going to be under political pressure very quickly from every country that depends on Persian Gulf oil. The coalition mine clearance effort involves partners beyond just the U.S. Navy. The Royal Navy has mine countermeasures vessels in the region. The French Navy has relevant capabilities. Several Gulf partner navies have been building mine countermeasures capacity with American and British assistance over the years, specifically in preparation for exactly this contingency. And there is a genuine international interest in getting this done because every major oil importing nation in the world has a stake in the strait reopening on a timeline that does not produce an extended energy supply disruption. That international interest is translating into international contributions to the clearance operation that are making the coalition effort more capable and more comprehensive than any single nation could manage alone. There's also an intelligence dimension to the mine clearance operation that I want to spend a minute on because it is important and it is not getting much attention. The most valuable asset in a mine clearance operation is a comprehensive and accurate mine chart, a map that tells you where the mines are before you start looking for them. Iran deployed these mines during an active conflict under operational security conditions that were designed to prevent exactly that kind of comprehensive intelligence picture from being built by the other side. But throughout this conflict, American surveillance assets, including underwater sensor networks, satellite imagery, signals intelligence, and human intelligence collection, have been building a picture of Iranian mining activities that, while not perfect, provides a significant head start for the clearance operation. The intelligence picture does not tell the mine clearance forces where every mine is, but it tells them where to look first, which parts of the strait were mined most heavily, which approaches were prioritized by Iranian naval planners, and which areas can be deprioritized in the initial clearance effort because the intelligence suggests they were not mined. That kind of intelligence support to mine clearance operations is something that was not available at the same level of sophistication in previous Persian Gulf mine clearance efforts, and it is materially accelerating the current operation. Now let's get to the global roundup because there are two stories that are moving fast right now and you need to have them on your radar. First story. China's reaction to the Iran deal has evolved in the last several hours in a direction that is worth paying close attention to. After the initial cautiously positive public statements about regional stability, Chinese diplomatic activity behind the scenes has been focused on two specific questions. First, what are the terms of the sanctions relief on Iranian oil exports, and when does Chinese access to Iranian crude resume at pre-conflict levels? And second, what are the implications of the agreement's verification regime for the precedent it sets regarding international access to nuclear-related facilities in other countries? That second question is the one that is really driving Chinese diplomatic engagement right now because Beijing is acutely aware that any verification architecture that the international community accepts as legitimate for Iran is an architecture that could theoretically be argued for in the context of Chinese nuclear activities. China is not going to say that publicly, but it is very much in the room in the conversations that Chinese diplomats are having with their counterparts right now. Meanwhile, in the Taiwan Strait, the elevated Chinese military activity that we saw in the immediate aftermath of the B-2 strikes appears to be modulating slightly, with the pace of Chinese aircraft operations around Taiwan stepping back from the surge levels of the last several days. Whether that reflects a genuine Chinese decision to reduce pressure in the current moment or simply a temporary operational pause is something that analysts are watching very carefully. Second story.